Let's start with South Carolina and number 7, Alabama drop all the way to number 7. Bama is a 21.5-point favorite. The over-under I have for this one, Will, is 20 carries for Lenore Sellers. 20.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Look, in 2 games against Byron Brown, the USF quarterback, and Diego Pavia, both quarterbacks hit the 20 carry mark, and both were locked in a close game against Bama in the fourth quarter. One guy watched that slip away because he converted 2 of 18 on third down, and another watched it become the best moment of his life because he converted 12 of 18 on third down. Sellers is he's second among SEC quarterbacks in carries per game behind only Pavia. So that's not crazy to suggest that could be part of South Carolina's game plan. And I know that durability has been an issue with him so far, but I have to think, even if you're not a believer in Dow Loggins, the schemer, which I am not, I'm more of a believer in Dow Loggins, the quarterback developer, not the schemer.
My gosh, we get to see Dowell Loggins versus Cade Womack.
It's the Will hate game. Well, the people need to know how much Will texts me about Kane. First of all, it's Kane Womack, I've been mispronouncing his name forever. And I'll take the L on that one. I've been doing it since he was in Indiana, and just for whatever reason, I heard people say it kind of randomly. I was like, "Is there some truth to this?" And then I looked it up, and I was like, "Oh yeah, it is Kane Womack." The people need to know how much Will just text me about Kane Womack out of the blue, even though we disagree on this. And it's like, oh, I'm like doing hurricane prep, and I've got like 5 texts from Will about Kane Womack. The people need to know that. But yeah, we're
calling him Womack is better than what Malachi Moore called him. Starts with a B. So anyway.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I'm sure he would have taken Womack. But yeah, Kane Womack, as he will henceforth be known on these airwaves. But yeah, it is a fascinating game from that standpoint in terms of like, all right, what's South Carolina going to do after they just saw this Alabama defense get gashed in ways that we are not used to seeing that uniform get gashed? And does South Carolina opt to say like, all right, we're just going to give it to Lenore Sellers, Rocket Sanders? They're going to be heavily involved. We're going to force Bama to improve that gap discipline that they struggled with so much. And while I do think Bennett and Simon have been kind of nice players in the passing game for them, South Carolina still has not found that guy that can just be that number one, go get some separation, go move the sticks. They don't have a Xavier Legette emerging on that team. They don't have a 2022 Juice Wells. That guy has not emerged yet. And I don't really feel very confident that he's about to emerge this week, even with Bama's struggles in the secondary. They don't even have like an Eli Stowers who, look, he had great rapport with Pavia at New Mexico State, and he was kind of starting to emerge as a go-to target before the Bama game. This is a soul-searching game for Bama in every possible way. If the Tide spent this week just playing the blame game, and this was no, this was your fault. Like, no, we're sitting here in the film room. You missed your assignment here. You missed your assignment there. And it's instead not really constructive. And it's more so just about, wow, I feel really embarrassed about this. I'm not going to do anything about it. We're going to know. It'll show on Saturday. It will. Malachi Moore won't be suspended for those actions. He'll be disciplined internally, according to Kalen DeBoer. After seeing that clip from Clint Lamb and his breakdown of it, I wholeheartedly disagree with that decision from Kalen DeBoer. I very much do. I know Bama players said that Malachi Moore said all the right things behind closed doors. He tweeted out
posted an
apology that may or may not have been AI. Yes, I was getting to that point. I was not going to just leave that out there. Yeah.
Sorry, he had an AI apology he tweeted. And there's it's funny because again, this whole thing is preconceived notions about Alabama, because you can see the people that are like, great kid, nailed this. You can see this is clearly ChatGPT. This guy did not try here. So yeah, I think whatever you thought going into it, you probably still think.
Probably. Yeah, that's fair. I think the macro issue is far more pressing to try and establish a culture of accountability. And within that defense, Alabama doesn't have that right now. I think we can say that no matter what side you fall on, even if you were calling Feinbaum saying the sky isn't falling, which for you were in the minority if you were doing that. But yeah, I do think that this is a very interesting fork in the road for the Tide. So I'm going to go with South Carolina to cover, but I'll take Bama to win 38-21 with some of those shot plays being a big difference. If Jalen Milroe can get some time against that obviously loaded South Carolina pass rush, I still like their chances of being able to do some of the things that they did against Vandy that obviously came up in a losing effort.
Yeah, I do want to say this, a pretty interesting stat that came out. I kind of have like my gut reaction after a game like that, and I kind of dig into the numbers a little bit and see if it lined up with like the numbers. And one thing that's pretty interesting, I don't know if you've seen the like, did we really get beat that bad chart with net success rate? Kind of just like play by play basis of which team was more successful. Usually, I can call those pretty well. Like for instance, A&M smoked Mizzou on almost every play, right? So they were fourth in terms of the like actually they did beat them that badly. Alabama, on a play-by-play success basis, beat Vanderbilt. In fact, it was like the sixth most of a losing team overall. So like USC had the highest net success rate of a losing team. Alabama was at sixth. Okay. Like of all the games. And so what that means is that Alabama's offense played really well.
That's what I was saying.
Yeah, no, I know. And it was just in big moments, right? Pick six, the fumble you can't have. Like those are the issues that Milroe has had historically. But it was 2 to 3 plays on offense that kind of, swung the game. This defense is actually worse than I thought, is what that means. Because if the offense is actually winning almost every play, but they're never on the field, basically, because your defense is just basically getting gas the entire game in via chunk play. Yeah, so I'm just super duper fascinated by this, because when I see that, I thought I would see kind of a back and forth game where the Bama offense was pretty solid. The Bama defense was pretty bad, and that equaled out to about a 50-50 where 1 or 2 plays made the difference. No. Actually, the offense was awesome and the defense was so terrible that it just didn't kind of matter. So that's actually pretty fascinating. So going with this game, right, I think it really does come down to South Carolina playing within themselves. I think that whenever you have a quarterback like Lenora Sellers against a defense that, like you said, had 0 sacks against Diego Pavia last week. Sellers, I think we could argue who's harder to bring down. Sellers probably still a little bit banged up, like not fully healthy. Pavia is definitely a little bit shiftier as far as the quick twitch muscles. Smaller guys sometimes are harder to bring down, a la Johnny Manziel when he was in college. But the thing about Sellers is when you get a guy like that injured, it's tough because you want him to be able to use his legs, but you want to get re-injured. I say that to say I don't want to see some spaceship play construct by Dowell Luggins this weekend. I want to see, let's let the boys have fun. Know that 2 to 3 Bama players per play are just not going to know the play call. They're not going to know where they need to be.
And you got to hit that.
You got to hit that.
Yeah.
There's no reason to do what they did last week against Ole Miss and try to do the fake punt, try to do the weird 4th down calls. Get out there, run the ball, let your quarterback be himself. Don't overcomplicate things for him. I know he's like, coming back kind of like I said. So, yeah, I think that's the key is if you can see a simplistic game plan and a confident South Carolina team, I think this team can be beaten. We've seen, we're going to be like picking Bama for the rest of the year is going to be so hard. I'm not going to pick them to lose to South Carolina for sure at this point. Now, losing 2 in a row would be like already looking at fire Kalen DeBoer, which would be very funny. No, it would be funny. But again, like that's like this is kind of the 2 characters we often play, which are like, I'm the guy who's kind of reactionary telling jokes. Losing to Vandy is a joke I would never tell because it feels made up. So I just gotta keep resetting that. Like
it'll feel different in 2024 to lose to Vandy. I'm saying I'm on the record saying that it'll feel different to lose to Vandy in 2024. It will always feel historic because of the timing of when it happened against Bama. I will not take away from that.
Yeah, I just think it's always inexcusable if you're Alabama, right? I mean, Georgia State beat these boys. So point being, like, yeah, I don't think they're going to lose 2 in a row. I think that DeBoer's attire is probably going to be different. We can say that. I think that's the 2 things I can almost say I know here. Now, beyond that how it's going to go, I hope that, there's to being conservative, right? Like, so I hope that they stay aggressive the way they did last week, but not that they overthink it. So I will say, I think this Bama offense kind of eats against this defense. They're going to come out angry. I think that Jalen Milroe is a great leader. So I would say somewhere in like the 30-10 or like the 34-14 range. I think this is going to be a convincing win for Bama because you can't lose 2 in a row at Alabama. Like we just said, I mean, you pack your bags if you lose to South Carolina.
Yeah, I mean, if that happens, we're having much different conversations. There's no doubt about it. If you're a Bama fan, you're holding on to hope that you saw who Jalen Milroe became after that loss to Texas and after the benching to USF. The problem is that it's going to take a whole lot more than Jalen Milroe for this team to get to the places that Bama wants to go. And I'm honestly not questioning Jalen Milroe. You can come out and play a really similar game, and on most days, you're going to win that football game. Obviously, the turnovers were crucial when they happened, but I thought he made enough plays. And I do think that against South Carolina, there are obviously ways in which they can get behind the sticks, and this could turn into a grind of a game. There's no doubt about it. If we see Dylan Stewart and we see Kyle Kennard forcing Milroe into some of these mistakes that he has been known for at times when he's been bad in his career, it's not going to necessarily be some stunning revelation. But Bama's got to have a pulse defensively, I would think, after the week that's been. If you have any pride whatsoever, you get up for this one, and you at least don't let South Carolina impose its will on your home field, one would think.